Welcome to this skill acquisition video. We're going to talk in this video all about skilled performance. So we're going to focus in on answering this particular question. What does skilled performance look like? What do we mean by the term skilled performance? How do we test it? How do we check it? How do we know that a performer is a skilled performer? Well, let's find out. So I think one of the first things we need to think about is the fact that when we talk about skilled performance, we're talking about a bit of a continuum, a bit of a scale. So skill exists on a scale, doesn't it, as we thought about in the lesson on learning curves. It's not simply that a person is either skilled or unskilled. It's not a binary, skilled or unskilled. It's not one or the other. It's a scale from unskilled to more skilled. And we have this scale of skill at one end, unskilled at the other end, but we can progress along this scale to a state of being more skilled as we learn, as we improve, and as we hone our skills. So the question is not so much is a performer skilled or unskilled, but is that performer more or less skilled? So in order to make that determination that a performer is more or less skilled, we need to think about what are the factors that we look for to make an assessment about whether a performer is a skilled performer? Or again, more accurately, what factors do we look for to say that a performer is more or less skilled than another performer? So we can make comparisons between them. Or what factors do we look for to say that a performer is more or less skilled than they were last time we saw them play? So we can check for progress. So what are the features that might indicate improvement in the level of skill? So I'm going to suggest 5 key features here. The first feature is fluency. And this simply means if the skill consists in a certain amount of smoothness of action. So the skill, whatever that skill might be, whether it's a tennis serve or a free kick in football or whatever it is in sport, is that skilled performance a fluent performance? Does the performer have a degree of smoothness of their motion? Not a clumsy movement, not a clunky movement, not staccato movements, but smooth flowing movements. So fluency would be the first thing that you're looking for, or the first factor that you're going to consider to decide whether or not a performer is more or less skilled in that particular skill. Secondly, control. Is the performer able to blend together the different aspects of that skill in a way that they have control over? So do they have the right blend of speed and accuracy, for example? Or the right blend of speed, distance and accuracy? Whatever the skill might be. Does the performer blend those elements of the skill effectively in a way that shows they have control over all of the elements of that skill? So fluency, control, and then thirdly, economy of movement. So essentially what we mean here is there's no wasted energy. There's no wasted movement. It's coordinated. It's put together in such a way that there's no waste of effort in the movement. And so obviously all these things combine together in some way. So fluency, control, economy of movement, and also importantly, consistency of outcome. So we might look at a performer and say that that performer is a skilled performer or a more skilled performer, or is increasing in their level of skill because the outcomes of that skill are increasingly consistent. There is a maximum certainty or an increasing certainty of repeated success. It might be that if you're playing darts, to give an example, that you over time become repeatedly more successful at hitting the bullseye. So that would be an indication that you are moving from less skilled to more skilled as a performer in that particular skill. So fluency, control, economy of movement, and consistency of outcome. But here's something else to consider. I wonder if you can think of a way in which we could come up with some kind of overall criterion, an overall category by which we might judge a performance in terms of its level of skill. So I'm suggesting in this video that there might be an overarching category, or there might be an overarching criterion that we can use to say that a player or an athlete is more skilled. And I would say that that criterion is aesthetics. Aesthetics, which simply means, does the skill appear to be beautiful? And this might sound a little bit woolly, it might sound a little bit imprecise. What do you mean by that? But anyone who plays sport knows what I mean by this. Sometimes you're watching a player play, you're watching skilled sportsmen and skilled sportswomen, and you get a sense of amazement and a sense of wonder and a sense of awe when you watch them move. The same kind of sense that you get when you see a beautiful landscape or a piece of art, for example. And so it seems to me that when these four elements, these four categories of skilled performance merge, perhaps especially the first three, fluency, control, economy of movement, then when they all come together in a movement or a skill, then that skill looks to us as if it were beautiful. And we use this language sometimes, don't we, to describe the way that players and athletes play. Think about the smoothness, for example, of Roger Federer's cross-court forehand. Rapidly dips and clips the line before sliding out of reach of his opponent. Or the height and the hang time of a Cristiano Ronaldo header. Or a Simone Biles tumble, a Lionel Messi dribble, a tee shot from a Tiger Woods in his prime. All of those things we can look at and we can get a sense, it's a felt sense of beauty. And I think that that comes from this combination of fluency and control and economy of movement in particular, that we can break it down into its constituent parts. But ultimately, if you know that sport well enough, you know what a good skill looks like because it feels beautiful as you watch it or as you experience it. So maybe that's a little bit woolly, but I think it's a valid way of thinking about identifying what a skilled performance or a more skilled performance looks like. So in fact, that's it for this video. We've looked at skilled performance. We've tried to identify some of the factors and the categories that we use to identify what a skilled performance is. And then we've thought briefly about how we might combine those factors into that one idea of the aesthetics of the movement. So I hope that video has been helpful. Don't forget to like it and subscribe. Hit the notification icon so you get notified every time I upload. But for now, that's it. So take care.